We're drinking on a patio.
We are.
Welcome to Flying for Flavour.
Welcome.
I'm adjusting. I'm trying to wear summertime clothing on camera. For girls, a little bit of an adjustment, especially after the quarantine 15.
Tuck in all the bras, tuck in the
Jeez
stomach.
Louise.
I wish it was quarantine 15. I got quarantine 30 going on, and I'm not
2020.
exaggerating.
Jeez Louise. So, anyways, we have drinks, we don't care.
Yeah.
So we're actually closed today. That's why we got to sit outside by ourselves. And technically, I said for social distancing, we really should be either outdoors and then better than inside. But we are our social bubble.
I would say we are in our social circle.
This is our social circle. So I wanted to. We were originally talking about last week that we were going to talk about tourism and events, and I still want to do that. But I kept reading all of these really cool articles, and I made notes and I can't find them, so we'll just wing it. But about what the future is going to look like now between for restaurants and hotels, and as much as we keep thinking about the next week and a half, a lot of these major businesses are planning for years down the road, and how the new normal is what it's going to be like. So this would be an example of the new normal. I think we're going to be outside more often than not, basically only when weather says you can't.
Yeah.
Because I think that even going forward, as much as I've always thought, someday I'm going to open in this kind of restaurant or whatever, and I'm just thinking, no, I just want to keep opening patios.
Yeah.
I think it's safer that way.
Well, I think patios are super practical in Northern Ontario, don't you?
For the 2 months out of the year.
I tease. But no, and you know what? And I mean, in a lot of countries other than Canada, they're quite prevalent. You know, anywhere where you've got nicer weather more year round than here, you see them everywhere. And I know, I haven't been to France like these guys have, but I know they've got a lot of cafes and patios where you sit and you kind of watch the world. Lord knows in Australia, pretty much every restaurant we went to had some sort of a patio, or they'd have walls that would open up completely so that you were outside was part of you being inside the restaurant as well too. So having this idea of al fresco dining, if anything, I think it's going to, like an example of our city, it's going to push cities to find ways to help businesses make it happen.
Because I wasn't originally going to be putting a patio this summer, because we were talking about changing windows and doing all that, and we thought, oh, no, what? We have such a good thing going on inside that I'm just going to focus on that for the time being. And then, but having to rely on or trying the takeout and delivery thing, it doesn't actually work well. It works. I mean, yes, we can still deliver, and we can deliver wine, which was a great thing that the AGCO helped us with, which I was very happy with. But it's not, the whole idea of this bar is all about the environment, and most bars and nightclubs are that way. Yes. It's about the environment and atmosphere, and that's not something that you can deliver.
You can't replicate the same way.
Not the same way, and other places have been trying it, but anyways, before we gotta start drinking. Yes.
Cheers, my friends.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And it's not over Zoom.
I know, it feels so good.
And I have to say, this cocktail that we're drinking, you know more about it because you made it today, but it's a friend of mine who's Italian. She actually is an old dance mom friend, and she is, I shouldn't quote her title wrong, but she works at the local university, and she's in the Italian department, in the theater department. And because her family speaks Italian, and the Italian culture is very prevalent in their home, she shared this cocktail a few days ago. And I'm like, oh my God, Steph, this is the one.
Yeah,
so I have to thank my friend Diana Whaley for
so it's called Spaghetto. Spaghetto? Yeah. So it's lemon sorbet, vodka, Prosecco.
Super refreshing.
So I had to go look for lemon sorbet. So the cool thing is going to be, I am not going to put it on the menu here at the bar. It is going to be, you have to ask for it. So you either have to have been watching this show to hear about it,
or know one of us,
or saw a social media post if we put it on stories somewhere, and that is it.
And at least give it an attempt to try to pronounce it properly, because I won't be able to. So
just say that lemon thing.
That lemon thingy.
Oh my God.
That's why I have the artichoke dip, because I think the artichoke dip will go with
really good. The blue cheese is nice with it too. The other day, I was watching a YouTube show, and at the end, they did their spiel, follow us, like us, and I died laughing. All I could think of was Stacy, because he was a little bit smoother than you, but not much. It made me laugh so hard. I was like, that's my girl up there.
I have perfected it, so.
drinks help.
Maybe.
It does.
So I don't know what you guys have been researching around. So I can talk a little bit about the restaurant industry, that how I see it happening. I talked about being outside a lot. Here in Ontario, we have pretty strict laws when it comes to alcohol sales.
Yeah.
And I think that because things have laxed, meaning that they have allowed restaurants to now offer alcohol with delivery services, right, and takeout options.
Right.
We didn't have to send in a separate application for a patio here. They just said, just follow your city's guidelines and you're good to go, which usually you have to pay and just do an extra whole application
All
form and
kinds of
everything
stuff.
else.
Yeah.
So I have a funny feeling that I think that's going to it's going to be all the time now. So now that they've already allowed restaurants to do this delivery and takeout, and they've realized it hasn't been as chaotic
Yeah.
and problematic as they may have thought it was.
Yeah.
And it's not really taking. I mean, I'm sure I did not put a dent into the LCBO sales.
Oh,
Really?
I'm confident you did
I
not.
think I might have.
Just from what you bought from her.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't think that my delivery and takeout of wine here hurt
No.
local sales.
No.
And I can see in wine country, like, because Niagara was slower, they just opened. Prince Edward County actually opened slightly before that. They're starting to open their tasting rooms a little bit more. But I mean, I'm featuring a lot of their stuff either way, so it's not really helping that. So I can see down there, maybe restaurants, right? If they're depending what wines that they're doing. Is it taking away sales from the wineries that people used to go there and buy them? But
I
I
do
don't
feel
think
like whether the restaurants are selling the bottles or the wineries are selling the bottles, they're still selling their bottles, right? They still have to replenish the restaurants as
Right.
well. Do you
Yep.
know what I mean?
Yep.
I would say if someone came in, I'm making something up because it's probably not a thing, but if all of a sudden you couldn't get California wines there normally, but because restaurants were selling California wines, then that might dip into someone's sales. But I think when it comes to like some of the wineries that we visited, they're supplying the LCBO, they're supplying direct to consumer, and they're supplying the restaurants in their local area. So if they're buying them from their local area, they're still getting that sale either way.
And not to mention, there's some wineries who make different products for different uses. So they're going to have certain wines that they sell just through the LCBO, and then they have other ones that they sell just to restaurants, and then they have other ones that they sell from a winery direct. So I guess it's not really going to make a real big dent for them. One article that I read, and I think that's what started me on this topic, had to do with wine country, about what it's going to be like now to go to those tasting rooms and to go for tastings.
Yeah.
Because it used to be it was a free-for-all, right?
Yep.
You just go in there and you got to elbow your way through.
Right.
So obviously that's not going to happen anymore. It might be having to be by appointment, which is
I can see more
more the
appointments
way they
happening.
do it in Europe.
And do you remember when we were down at the Ice Wine Festival? I mean, by then maybe things will be changed, but still, I don't think it's going to change that much. And until we have a vaccine or something that can actually eradicate or at least give herd immunity.
Like things like those kind of events, because they were outdoors. They have so many outdoor events.
Oh,
but on the other hand, I went to, and I could see that one because it's more stations that you're walking around, and it's all outside.
Right.
You know, there's a Chardonnay festival, the Cool Climate Chardonnay Festival that I go to every year in July. I think that they postponed it this year, I believe. But they always used to do it inside because it used to be like 35 degrees. It was insane. That's Celsius for you Americans. So it was like stupid hot. But they would have us in an airplane hangar.
Oh, okay.
Right? And then they would have seating and stuff under tents outside. But it's at the Niagara District Airport. So they could still do that, but that one small event is just a number of events that are done throughout the weekend, which are rest are all interior.
Right.
And these are Chardonnay producers from like all over the world that come in for this. So I can't see how they would come in just for like a couple outdoor events.
What I think event producers are going to have to look at doing, it's actually my big joke over the last couple of weeks was when Ontario let Phase 2 come out, party planners and event planners can now work. But I can plan a party for 10 people who stand 6 feet apart outside. It's a
Not
good time,
inside?
right? No, outside.
thought you
Because
could do
inside is your social bubble,
Oh.
outside is events for gatherings for 10 people.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
And 6 feet social distance.
Okay.
So realistically, there's not work like that for me to do. But what I foresee happening, as long as we've got some sort of restriction like this, like right now for weddings and funerals, you can have the ceremony inside a venue,
Right.
but you can only have up to 30% capacity. and different parties need to be 6 feet apart. So let's just say like we all went somewhere. So you and Norm would sit here, and then there'd be 6 feet, then it'd be me, Mark, and the kids, and maybe 6 feet, and then yourself, and then 6 feet, and then the next group. And they could only have up to 30% of their capacity. What I see potentially happening to events long term is we may see that the events will be more than one day to allow the same amount of people. I think we're going to see timing or timed arrivals. So you may not have like an appointment at
drive-through weddings.
1:15.
It'll be like Vegas.
Drive-through weddings are possible,
Yeah.
but
Vegas
what's
and
happening
Niagara.
in the wedding industry, and we're seeing more, I think what we're going to see happen is smaller weddings with more online capacity. So for example, like right now you can have 10 people you can have 50 people outside, socially distanced. So what I can see happening is, and a good friend of mine is actually just in the point of launching this kind of system for his wedding season efficient, where it's broadcast. So you give people a password, so you don't have to come be at the wedding. You can join us through Zoom or a webinar of some sort. And so you're able to open that capacity to people who are too far, who would have never had the opportunity to travel in the first place. And then you're limiting, quite frankly, your costs of people attending locally. So I think we're going to see some of that. But I think with corporate events, something like trade shows and the like, I think you're going to see less capacity in the space, but it's going to be longer. And instead of saying you can come between 9 and 5, they'll have 50 people slotted from 1 to 2. Then they'll have 50 people slotted from 2 to 3. I think it'll be more like that, and I can actually see it being more assembly line and more directed traffic as opposed to darting back and forth. That's my completely uninformed prediction.
As I said, like it's going to have to be, and then I think it's going to change. I guess that has to do with, I mean, that's like an immediate future, right? So just like for all plans, you always want to look like, short term, long term, right? That's why I kept thinking, like for restaurants, like I have to say that it's not quite wood, but knock on wood, that I listened to my gut and said I don't want a very big place. If I had a place that was big like Respect, the cost of opening that place at 30% capacity, nope.
Yeah.
So
It's
having,
difficult.
right?
Difficult.
And so, I mean, yes, he can go ahead and he's, I don't know if I'm going to guess he's probably going to do some kind of a patio thing. But even then, like we only had 30, so if I did 30%, like that's
10 people.
Yeah. Like, holy cow. So,
Right.
which is fine for private classes,
Yeah.
right? Which I'm already starting to launch, but I'm doing them out here, which will
Well,
be
your private
interesting.
classes are going to become more important if that's the case.
Well, and that's the whole thing is that,
Absolutely.
okay, so there would be my other segue into my next topic has to do with private functions for those who can afford it.
I actually have, before you go move on.
Me too. I got one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't openly share, like on this podcast, where my day job is. That's because I keep my day job separately from the podcasting. But I will say that the company I work for is in e-commerce. And we have seen, and my role has changed drastically because I was doing L&D and training, and I've now moved into outreach to small business associations and helping small business associations get the tools and information and knowledge that their members need to get online and be selling or transacting or doing business online. And without a doubt, I truly believe, regardless of what industry we're in, whether when it comes to what we're doing, whether it's farming, whether it's the vineyards, whether it's restaurants, whether it's an event services company like my own, even with the travel stuff that you do, everything is, if you are not online and don't have that as a revenue stream, as a channel for selling, you're not going to survive. And as part of that, the company that I work for has been doing major outreach throughout communities and, quite frankly, countries across the world. And what the overwhelming response has been that people want to do it, but they don't know how. And so what we've been, or they think that a lot of people believe that you need, $5,000 to get a website up and running. While I'm not going to, I mean, we can talk about it later, whether or not I openly share where I work and what they're doing. But the reality is that there's some really amazing programs out there. One I can mention that's happening in Ontario right now, and I think they're looking to branch it out, is called Digital Main Street, where like Google and Shopify and eBay and a bunch of tech conglomerates have gotten together, and they provide this amazing package to help people get online with their businesses. You have to be a legit business. You have to have, I think it's fewer than 30, but more than X amount of employees, or you can be an artist, which actually, when we think
I
about
think I heard
hospitality,
about that
artists.
through like either Sudbury Tourism or somebody was promoting that.
Well,
like,
because
there was
we
a
have it.
webinar about
Sudbury is one of the cities, because the cities had to apply to be a part of it, and
Oh,
Sudbury is
that's
one of
why.
those cities. They've got Toronto, Ottawa, North Bay, Timmins,
Very cool.
like all kinds of cities across Ontario. If you Google Digital Main Street, you'll find it. But what I love about it is they are actually going to have. They've basically partnered and hired students to actually build the websites.
Nice.
So
Smart.
you'll basically get a template with your brand. And you still have to load your products and make your decision, all those kinds of things. But it gets that stuff that most lay people don't know and don't have.
Ooh, I might
It gets that site, absolutely.
I'll be
gets
jumping
that
on that.
that
Yeah.
site into their hands. It's such an amazing offering that they have. A lot of it's really unprecedented. So I'm sharing that one because it's a conglomerate, a group of different tech companies who've come
Is there
together
a
to
link
make
that
it
we'll
happen.
be able to share with people
We
about
can
it?
put the link on
Yeah,
the
wonderful.
podcast for sure. I think it's really important to get the word out there, because I look at, when I think about our friend across the street, Kyle, like for what he was doing with his cocktails, it is literally a perfect venue to give him a turnkey solution to be selling on, because he made a choice to sell Facebook. And I said, that's cool, that's totally awesome. Everyone has their own business model. But it's another way to channel that with a full online e-commerce solution where you can take credit card and all those kinds of things. So I think that realistically, and even for businesses like myself, I didn't have to diversify, thankfully, because I do have a full-time job that I work during the day, and I'm fortunate that it's helped me pay the bills. I mean, I've started teaching painting classes to help pay for the extras.
That's awesome.
So I did
what
have
you
to,
gotta do, man.
not
You
through
gotta-
my company, but
exactly.
I did take up, use some other skills I had to start earning some money. But as a wedding planner, an event planner, I think like I could be selling how-to videos. I could be selling digital downloads
Anything.
of planning sheets. I could, quite frankly, because I have such a knowledge of remote hosting of events, I could be selling remote events. And so I think it's important that, and the key with who's going to get through all of this and who's going to last long term are the ones who can be creative and think about ways that they can get what they do online and reach a larger audience. And I mean,
The key
it's-
phrase is pivot.
pivot,
Yes.
pivot. Where's our? We need to like cut to a GIF of Ross pivoting with the couch in the stairway.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Diversification is a big word I've been using. Diversify what you offer. I mean, I was very weddings, because it's what I love and what I enjoy. I had planned to launch, and will launch, Celebrations of Life, but I didn't feel I should launch it at the beginning of COVID when people were ill, because I'm not that asshole.
Because she's not trying to make money off
I'm not
of it.
trying to
I
make
can give you
money
some
off
ideas how
a
I
global
celebrated my
pandemic.
life.
What was the,
I celebrated
what was
my
the
life
thing we were
really well.
talking about? Never let a good opportunity
To go.
And you're right. As a
That would've
business
been
person,
perfect.
it was probably a bad decision to not launch it, but as a human being, I chose not to launch in March, which is when I was planning to launch.
Don't let a good crisis go to waste.
Right.
Right?
I love you guys.
What do you say? It's like a fire sale. Sorry.
Like literally an ambulance chaser. And if there's one thing that you can take away from all the things we're going to talk about today, get yourself online and be able to transact online. Because you're not
Absolutely.
going to survive. You really won't.
Absolutely, and I'll segue into where I work full time, and it doesn't really matter. But the thing is the whole focus is web based, and it's everybody.
You're in health and safety.
Yeah, health and safety, and everybody needs to get their accounts online, order online, do
Yep.
everything online. So it totally supports that.
Yeah.
I know as a person who is into some side stuff, everything is online.
Yep.
And you have the ability to reach people in different worlds, like at different countries. Like you can actually sell stuff and create stuff now because of Zoom. It creates a totally different level of that. And
Honestly, my
it's
therapist is
amazing.
online. I'm so happy.
So
I
am I.
connected with a therapist in British Columbia. Sorry, Stace.
It's okay. Well, it's probably better, right? I get it.
No.
I get it. No.
But she's online, and actually it worked out because she was someone that I worked with my day job, so she understood a lot of the stuff I was dealing with there. But the fact that the reality is you can deliver those kind of services online, whereas people would have never thought of it. Like I know you've been doing it for a while, but people don't always think that way. And you think, I sell a service, there's no way I can do what I do online. But
However, the funny thing is that it's getting that marketing where a lot of people struggle is getting that online presence to the right people. And that's where I struggle, where I'll add the random person. They look and they go, listen, I need your services for like X amount of sessions and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, sure, no problem. But they had never even knew because if they weren't in the right, so I mean a web page, a designed web page that you can actually, is it called SOPs?
SEO.
SEOs, okay, with Google. I am pretty good. SOPs with my other company.
Search engine optimization.
Yes, and so I mean that's when you can play with those things, and that's key in this day and age. And I know that from where I'm saying from a corporation standpoint, where they're saying to us, it's all online.
Yeah.
It's all online. Everything you're going to do in a sales call now is going to be Zoom. It's going to be it's going to be virtual. And you have to create that connection virtually. And if you can't, then you can't. And it sort of links into, earlier we were talking about businesses and you were saying what the new normal is. And I reached out to a couple of business people, restaurant business people in Sudbury. And I kind of know, just sort of in the last day or so, mainly today, I actually reached out because I said to them, listen.
Today I was prepping for our podcast.
Today I was prepping for my podcast, and I kind of went, hey, can I actually lend an ear for you? Like, what are your thoughts on what the new normal is going to be? And I won't say who they are because it's probably best not to. And there's several different ones, and it's all about the same. They're happy that they can have some of my business, like their business, open again.
Yep.
They know it's not fully open, but they know it's open. They believe it is a strange time.
Yep.
And I said, so, you know, and I actually said, it is very strange. And I said, you know, we're taping a podcast tonight, and the topic is the future of hospitality and tourism.
Yep.
And I said, any thoughts that I could share? And this person said, the good businesses will continue on.
Yep.
This period will weed out people whose hearts aren't in it.
Yep.
And the general, this is where the X rating comes in. The general public needs to not be assholes. LOL. And
Yeah,
this
that's
person
Yep.
went on and said, understand the pressures everyone is working under, trying to follow new protocols,
Yep.
service clients who have the
Yep.
same expectations
Yep.
of pre-COVID, with businesses having less staff and less time to make it happen. And then they went on to say, while also having to deal with new weird moments.
Yeah.
And for example, you know, just things like even like in the Sudbury area, we kind of mentioned sidewalk space for patios.
Mm-hmm.
It's prime thing. And when you don't have a community that's willing to share
Yeah.
or allow that space, is it really that same type of orientation? Because my parents owned Cedar Gift Shop, which used to be on Cedar Street where Peddler's Pub was. And they used to have a summer sidewalk sale. They would shut down Durham and Cedar Street. They would have the Clydesdale horses taking rides through. They would have Dino the popcorn man. They would have the sausage guy.
Dino.
They would have Frank's and Fred's open with the doors wide open. And they, you know, all of that stuff, you know, and you would, all the sidewalk stuff, all this clothes would be on the sidewalk.
Yes.
Nobody would have a sidewalk. People would be roaming on the actual street. There were no cars.
And that's how it is still in Europe in many streets.
Yes, like Rome.
Yes. But Rome's like
Greece.
like that. Madrid's like that.
Athens.
Yes, Athens is like that.
Yeah. There's no
Paris
cars.
is like that. Like everyone has little sections of their community where it is pedestrian only.
So I'm going to put this out there as a
That's gonna be a big
non-business owner, particularly but again, I've been speaking with business associations, economic development corporations, and chambers of commerce all over North America right now. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this to all of you business owners with that big ego that you need to own the thing. It has to be your way, the highway, and you can't cooperate with anyone else. Take your ego and maybe shove it up your ass for a little bit. Because the reality is, if you're willing to work together, you know, I look at how, and I'll call out Stephanie with Wander and Kyle with the Alibi Room.
Yep.
They could consider each other competition because they both sell alcohol in small plates. However, they respect each other mutually.
Different.
They have different products.
Different
They even
market.
have a different market as far as timing, and it's working really well together. So for the two of them to say, let's do a thing, they're not taking each other's business, they're feeding each other business. And I think that's something that we get really caught up in. We need to own it. I was speaking with an economic development type organization today, and I'm going to leave it like that because I don't want to call attention to the name or anything. But they are part of like a chain of like 17 of them throughout the province that they are in. And they said, you know, Cynthia, we brought this to the other organizations that are doing the same thing under the same funding program throughout Northern Ontario, and no one could agree to work together.
Yep.
And they said, we're going to keep trying. And I'm like, you guys are amazing. I'm going to reach out to a few of them on my own to let them know this is what we're doing with this one. It would make a lot of sense to help your members do it as well.
Yep.
Because if my company is not we might get some signups out of it, but our point is getting people online and helping people who might be watching, looking for ways to get online.
Yeah.
But and these guys are saying it's not about whose idea is more right. It's not about who's more invested in what solution they might have been going down.
Survival.
If someone has something to run with it. Be willing to cooperate with the people around you in your community, because they aren't necessarily your competition. Sometimes they're there to complement you. That's I'll get off my soapbox, but I think it's so important.
And it actually, again, kind of we're both sort of echoing, but just in different ways, is the fact that a lot of cities are like this. If you go back 20, 30 years, and certain cities have vibrant downtowns where, it doesn't matter whose sidewalk belongs to whose sidewalk. If the street if it's shut down, there is no parking. And it's a free-for-all, and that supports the ability to create the business that a lot of small businesses need to create. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's sort of like, I think it would be the most funkiest summer if they were able to, like, from Elm all the way down about it a lot this year, to over there. And just have
down to over there.
Okay, well, it's not gonna cut down there, but yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean, over there. I don't know what street it is.
Elgin.
Over there. That's my dyslexic side.
I love
coming
you.
out. Over there. That's to the right. Oh no, that's the other
allowed.
right. I was joking, but it's true. It happens all the time.
And that's why she doesn't drive with us.
That's why it took me 3 years to figure out the final sign off. But I've got it. I know now.
Yep.
But that's it. I think collaboration and key, and those ones who are willing to be creative, like you said, the ones that have the heart in it and are not. It's almost like heart versus ego. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't even know if it's ego,
because I think you need to have a brain about it too.
I think
it's control. It's
control.
tough for us. It's tough for us.
No, it's change.
Owners.
It's people who do not do well with
there is
change.
that too.
So change is the issue. So change allows you to pivot. Change allows you to see something differently. I don't know who it is specifically, but I did hear rumblings that, like, there are a lot of those changes that you were talking about that would be really cool for this area, like for downtown, for most towns and cities, would to be create these pedestrian-only type environments. But I guess there's 5 or 6 business people, I don't know who they are, downtown.
Specific to Sudbury.
Who are losing their minds about possibly closing sections of streets down here. And it's because they are concerned that they're going to lose customers who can't park outside their front door. And that is how what a concern is because it has to do with every town. This is not a Sudbury specific thing. This is it's not an Ontario thing. It's not a Canadian thing. It is all over. It is, if you've only ever lived in a particular area and you've only ever shopped a certain way, if you've only ever gone to a restaurant a certain way, if you've always been able to pull up in front of a door, park your car and get out and go and sit and don't have to wait and do everything, anything different from that seems foreign to you, and you get upset about it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, as an example, and this is just like bringing a personal thing. So, I had to set up these barricade things, liquor license and all. And as much as I've already had, like, fire services, city, and everything come in and approve them, like, some lady came over on Sunday, doesn't realize I have her on video. Receipts. Oops. But she decided, she was on a scooter. Okay, a friend of ours in a wheelchair came on Saturday, and she had 0 problems getting in here.
No.
The lady with the scooter had an issue. She not only came in, she got out of her scooter to physically move the barricades on Sunday.
What was her issue? She couldn't get by?
She wanted this much room.
No. We were
to get by on the sidewalk.
I was here with the woman with the wheelchair, and we watched a scooter go by while we were sitting there.
The issue is the lady with the scooter who came and moved everything, she called the city to complain about our business taking up the entire sidewalk.
That's going to be the new normal, though. That will
I'm going to say to that
But
lady,
I already complained.
She needs to get over herself, because honestly, we watched people do it. Again,
But she got out of the scooter to move everything.
So she really needs that scooter.
Oh, well, okay, I'm not going to go there.
Sorry.
I'm not going to go there.
I am the shit disturber.
You never know what
I will
people
rock the
need
boat.
or what their situation
No, but
is.
it was the fact that
But-
she took the extra step
Yeah.
to call the city on Monday morning and leave a long, nasty message about the fact that this was taking up the thing, to the point where I got an email this morning, and anyways, it was a big deal. It got all straightened out because I sent a picture of it, and they went, yeah, you're right. Thank you for sending the picture. Some people are very sensitive about it, and I get that. And it's change. Because I'm not the only sidewalk patio in downtown area.
No.
And we're not the only one that has just a small walkway. but it's a matter of like, oh my God, I won't be able to go. Okay, and even though she's going to have tables next door at Huckleberry's, shout out to Huckleberry's, our friend Denise.
Yeah.
The
We love them.
previous show, what show was that? It was Chocolate Show.
Yeah.
The
We had
chocolate show.
we had a chocolate show. I'll put the
I got to
link
go
in there.
play with her. It was so fun.
Yeah, so now she's like all about ice cream right now. But anyway, she's going to have tables and Muskoka chairs and stuff
I
like
love
that
it.
out front too. But we might be losing 2 parking spots, and you would think that we were shutting down the world
Because of 2 parking spots.
because of a couple parking spots. But that was one of the things that I forgot to take, the no parking sign that I put temporarily up because we knew we were
Yeah.
going to have to use wheelchair ramps and stuff on Saturday night. I forgot to take them down on Sunday morning, and that was part of their complaint as well, that they could not park in front.
Oh,
where?
muffin.
And I thought,
Of what?
Oh,
was open?
muffin.
Of what was
So-
open?
there's nothing open downtown
Oh,
Sudbury on
muffin.
Sundays. And that was the issue. So anyways, what I'm getting at is that everyone needs to have some flexibility. And I think that this whole idea of, well, I had a business here for so many years and this is how it's always
Yes.
been. You have to start giving your clients
Yes.
and your guests the benefit of the doubt that they'll be able to adapt to the change.
And
Even
they
if
will.
you can't, they will.
They will.
I had a couple
So-
that showed up here from Minnow Lake. They've never been here yet. It was an older couple. And they loved it. They went, I didn't even know you were here. And she goes, I could try all these different foods and stuff. And she goes, you should take up like the whole street.
I
And it was
agree.
this
We're like, we'd like to.
I was like, we're working on it. She goes, oh, come on. She goes, Sudbury's so slow. She goes, you need to be more like, she goes, like Paris and da-da. Like, and she made a point, she used to be from Quebec. Quebec City, where she moved here. But she was commenting about
Yeah.
how this is a perfect venue for it. So you can't even say that it's a generational
No.
thing, because this was an older couple that were more than, when I told her that we were actually looking at closing down certain sections of the street, she was ecstatic.
Yeah.
She said, oh my God, she said, come here and spend the whole day. She goes, I'd go shopping and I'd come in for a breakfast here, I'd go have coffee down there, I would
Well,
go
that's
do
what
this.
we do, right? We lived in Brisbane, and the Queen Street Mall is like that. So it's literally what I would suspect was probably the busiest space in Brisbane.
Yep.
Between, I can't remember the names of the streets because it's been a few years, but they basically had, it was like, it would be here. It would be like closing the entire length of Durham
Yep. And done.
and probably Elm.
Yep.
Still having some driving in the sides. I mean, they did have more like underground parking and that kind of thing. But basically, it's what's called a mall. And you could go from business to business.
Yep.
We had booths all through the middle of the street and stuff. It was amazing.
Yep.
Now,
But so that's
We
the thing.
do
It
have-
brings more people to
we
those
do
areas.
have the challenge of recognizing that Sudbury is winter like 8 months of the year. But for those 8 months of the year, you leave it. You let people drive through.
Right, yep.
But in weather like this, even though we are sweating, I'm pretty sure that I'm actually wet.
I'm
when
stuck. I'm stuck to
when
the
I
seat.
get
My
up,
new
when I get up,
chairs are
I'm
gonna work out.
actually going to have a puddle on
we all are.
my dress is going to be wet.
We all are.
But the other thing too is to recognize that we are living in an unprecedented time right now. Now, we absolutely had the smallpox outbreak years and years ago. We had polio years and years
had
ago.
all the things.
Yeah, the Spanish
We've
flu.
had them.
You know, all of those things have
had
happened.
them.
But
We've had
but
them.
in this
And humans still survived.
in this
I know.
generation, this generation hasn't had this kind of shakeup because even World War II was like 80 years ago now.
Yep.
So we have never had something like this, and we need to recognize that things are going to change. That in a global pandemic, people don't always know what is coming up.
We don't.
Let's be open to it. Like, I got to call out my brother, who love him. We had a blast yesterday, but he was a total douchebag to his hairdresser because he walked into his hairdresser gave him a mask. He's like, what the fuck is that? And I looked right at him. I said, you didn't. He said, I did. I said, don't tell me you walked out, because they said, well, you know, they're all masked up. I mean, this is a requirement by law for them to be open. And my brother
Their
said,
license.
my brother
Otherwise-
said, well, if you're going to make me wear that mask, I'm walking. And they're like, well, sorry, sir, you have to walk because it's non-negotiable. And I looked at him like, what a douchebag you are. Like, you couldn't wear, like, guy's got short hair. His haircut's going to take him 15 minutes.
No, not a preference.
It's a requirement
so
by law.
surprisingly,
Yep.
for restaurants, it's not a requirement.
What?
Yep.
Isn't it
Because
funny?
we don't have to be that close. We are outside.
You could be 6 feet away.
We can be. My staff still wears it.
Well, your
they
staff's with
wear the
face shield.
shields.
They're great.
Yep. Except for in the 37-degree weather, they're at least they're not fogging. I have to admit that. And they're easy to clean.
I can't breathe through a mask. Like, I do have a mask that I wear when I go shopping.
Yep.
I can't breathe. I'm
No,
asthmatic.
I know, but
can't.
and most people can't, and that's the whole thing. Is that so? I have masks if we needed them. If somebody came here and they decided they wanted one, we have them. I went to see Sherry the other day.
Yeah.
She has like a little cute basket with masks that she offers to people when they're coming in.
Yeah.
And we have, and so every business, this is not even just hospitality and tourism. So I have hand sanitizer, and then Norm's idea, which is the cutest thing in the entire world, we have Ricola lozenges
Yes.
to stop you from coughing.
Oh.
Never
I
thought of
saw
that.
that. I
Bloody
saw that.
brilliant.
That
So
is
we
cool.
actually move them now outside of our washrooms. We have hand sanitizer outside the washroom, so you can, and it has a little sign saying you can use it before you go in. You can use it when you come out. You can have it. I'm gonna keep refilling them. I have one bottle now on, except for today, obviously, but on every table has a bottle. So that it's there. I have signs everywhere saying if you're picking up takeout, it's there. If you're gonna wait for your takeout, you take it there. We even have it set up so that, like, we had to actually do a walkthrough, and all businesses did this. This is not just hospitality tourism. This is also even like retail had to do this.
Yes.
It's okay, I'm coming in to go and see this business. How is this gonna flow?
Yeah.
Where's things going to be? How do they touch things? And we have like this, the disinfectant, and the staff know. Like, we're wiping down coasters.
Yeah.
Like, we never expected that. So we're disinfecting coasters in case someone touched it. We just have to disinfect the handheld debit machine after everyone uses it. We have so we have sprays. We have like regular sprays. We have aerosols. Everything sort of gets wiped in between, and the staff have been very, considering they're young people. Everyone always
Diligent.
gives them the gears.
I thought they were great.
But they're very easygoing about it. They're not, they haven't been saying, oh my God, I'm not doing that. Or, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this again. They haven't been grumbling at all. Aside from the fact that sometimes they go outside and they went, oh, I forgot to put my mask on. Right? Because when they're inside and they're not around anybody and they're just polishing glasses, they don't have to wear the mask inside.
Right. It's just with
So
with
it's just a
clients.
matter of like organizing it that way. But it's been really surprising, but I have to admit, and we've only been open 2 days. We did not have one person come here with a mask.
We didn't because we knew we'd be outside.
No, but I'm saying the entire weekend, nobody did.
That's
I
what
never
I'm saying,
saw
but,
one.
But for us, we knew, like when I go shopping, if I go to the grocery store, went to my hairdresser, I brought my mask with me. But I said, when we were coming here, I did have the mask in the car, but I said, we're going to be outside. It's going to be like the 3 people, so myself, our friend in the wheelchair, our lovely Sarah, who's been featured on the show, and my friend Wookie were here. And we knew we'd all be together later at my house as well, too.
He
So
was
we're
up
like,
from Ottawa.
yeah. Oh. Yeah, his thing, so here's something else too, with the social, completely separate. My friend Chris is staying with me right now, and he's staying in my house, and I made him take a test before he came to make sure that he was COVID free. Wookie and I talk on a daily basis, and I even said to him, I said, so, because he's, again, like people, these are single men who are just craving seeing their family. Right? And so, and I said to Wookie, I said, you know, where have you been? What have you done? Who have you seen? I mean, this poor man's been locked in his apartment with his cats for 3 months. So having those conversations around that, because we said it's all about measured and
I
careful.
can understand that.
Yep.
You know, all the way through.
I don't even have cats.
And I said to, but something else I can share if you want, or we can do it as a separate thing, or we can maybe just edit it and have it as
Just
a
keep
mini.
chatting and I can edit when I can.
Is home entertaining right now, because we do have our social circles. In our case, we had Father's Day on, yesterday was Sunday. And I really thought it through, because my father's in his 70s. My stepmother is 56, but has had some health issues over the years. I have asthma. So there were a lot of talking around how we were going to do Father's Day so that my dad could see both of his children. And we could do it in a safe and manageable way. So here are some of the things that I did to help make sure that we were all safe. So the first thing I did was I set up our tables. I do have a nice sized deck in my backyard, which is great. And oh my God, the compliments I have gotten on your patio set. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I bought her one that she had on Pine Street. So
On the outside there,
it looks great. It fits my space perfect. So we had my patio set from Steph. We slid over towards, because I've got a 10 by 12 gazebo. So we slid that one over to one side, and I had a 2 by 4 foot folding table that we put for my dad and my stepmother. And then for my brother and his wife and 2 kids, we had the umbrella from your patio table over an 6 foot table, and we set up the 4 of them there. So all the families were 6 feet apart. So giving them that option and that space to not have to be directly breathing. Nobody hugged yesterday. We also did disposables. So we disposable plates, disposable forks, disposable knives, disposable cups. You're laughing at me because we were so careful.
No, because I was laughing because we talked about me. I went out and bought all disposables.
We were cheering around saying, So much for our green show. We'll be doing
Yeah,
that.
no,
We'll be doing that in
it's-
2021.
It's not about green now with the volume of masks and gloves alone. So we had that for our food. My husband barbecued, so the food was all happening. Actually, that's a lie. I barbecued.
Nice.
But we had all the food out. Not 90% of the food was prepared outside, so that again it was out versus us spitting on it in the.
Yep.
Not that we spit on our food when we prepare it. Maybe
Good to
only
know.
when I
Good
work
to
with
know.
staff.
Food?
No, I'm
Good
just
to
kidding.
know. You talking your food?
And so then, as far as like washrooms, because that was the only thing I couldn't fix with outside and disposables and stuff. So I sanitized all of our door handles, our like sliding door.
Yep.
I sanitized all of the touch points I could find. I didn't do the entire bathroom because I didn't have enough time, but all of the touch points. I made sure that the sink and counter, the light switches, the like door kind of holding of the door where people like push and close, the toilet
Plunger.
button thing, the
Handle?
handle
Flusher.
thing, whatever that makes it flush. The seat and all like your normal stuff you clean when people come over ever, but we made sure we use sanitizing ingredients and all that. So you wear your shoes, come in and out, do your thing. So it was all of these little things that we tried to do. I did have a bottle of sanitizer on the table. I had sanitizing wipes by the I had like a punch dispenser, like a beverage dispenser. So we had the sanitizing wipes if we wanted to wipe off. So I was like as safe and as careful as we want to be.
Nice.
We legitimately could have done it completely contactless. We did cheat a few times because we're family and we love each other. But I just thought like it's a good kind of tip to share that if you are doing some entertaining and you do have to worry about, because we do need, the other side of the pandemic and COVID-19 is your mental health.
Yes.
I had a great chat with a friend of mine who spearheaded her hospital's COVID-19 response. And she said, you know what? She said, and this is, I'm not going to quote who she is or where she's from. She said, I'm so sick of this COVID stuff. She says, why don't we now put our energy on mental health? Because in a lot of times we do have to weigh our mental health versus the effects on our mental health of non-contact versus contact and COVID-19. So with us, with our family gathering, we still kept all of these things in place. We still sanitized, but we did sit a little bit closer to each other so we could see each other a bit more and those kinds of things. I think that there's that measurement that we can do personally that we may not be able to do in the same way in business. But I thought it would be kind of cool again to share just some of those tips that so you can entertain safely.
We did something similar. Sorry, my brother was here last weekend. He knew he was going to be up for Father's Day, so he came in last weekend by himself. And because we had the rental suites, he stayed upstairs. And so we actually had kind of like a dinner thing upstairs with him last weekend. But it was just my parents don't see anybody else, so we are their social circle. So Norm and I and Alex. Because we were working, and we had brought Karen in to fill in for us so we could go upstairs and eat with my brother. So we were kind of like making the dinner and then sitting upstairs, but it was just our little bubble. But my brother didn't want to didn't bring the kids and didn't bring his wife. I mean, Lisa, she's a doctor, works with patients in a hospital. So it was safer. Like he said, I'll go by myself. And so my parents' bubble got a little bit, but that was my big Father's Day gift. Is that was the first time I've hugged my dad since this all started. That's all he wanted, right? Was that he got to hug all his kids.
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, but that was. I'm sorry. Anyway, but it was.
No, but I think it's beautiful. I think that, but I mean, that's a lot of people that aren't able to. That's exactly because if you're not in a unit,
because I've been very strict with them and making them do the drive-bys. Right, for the last couple of months, and it's because they're both older, both in, of course, not in perfect health either when they get to that age, and because I work in the public with I don't care if I'm just taking all the precautions in the world with takeout and delivery, I was not going to be that catalyst for that.
No.
So I mean, I've been very careful, and Alex, considering he's younger, you think the young ones he's more careful than I am, so he'll remind me of stuff, and which is great. And
this is the closest we've been since March.
Yep.
I think we were further apart in March.
At the bar. You're not wrong, you're probably right.
You were on the other side of the bar and we were up.
So we were going to tape originally, and then I thought, oh, let's sit outside if it's nice. So otherwise we would have been inside. But yeah, so there's that. And then the only other thing I was talking about was sorry, you were going to tell a story before we.
Yeah, you're going to edit me after this one. It's circling back again to the concept of community and thing is that what's being proposed, I think, in a lot of cities, and I'll specifically speak to your Sudbury, is that it's not new. It happened 15, 20 years ago. A lot of those businesses that are like institutions, Sudbury, were there. That was when the downtown core was thriving.
Yeah.
And then we had, the Borgia market. We still had Woolworths. We still had these different things. It's sort of like, go back to the days when people actually came downtown.
We're communities.
And it was not at all about parking. Ever.
Can I go?
Ever.
I feel like I need to get my soapbox about malls.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Please.
Malls killed downtowns.
Yes. Yes.
And
know that.
right now, that was the whole concept that came in like the 70s, 80s.
Yes, and that's when the recession and
Right,
everything.
and all that, and I think that was part of the issue, is that there was this push to make everyone go shopping and spend time in malls and hang out in malls, and they got used to this. So the same people who will go to a mall like in Vaughan Mills, shout out to Vaughan Mills, but will park 4 miles away because of the kids, they can go spend the day shopping, are the same ones who won't come downtown here because they have to park on the other street. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but it's a mentality thing, right?
And that's exactly it. And I get really frustrated with Sudbury because I remember the days when I was knee high to a grasshopper, and I mean, when I was sick, I was sitting in the office with a quart blanket, making sure that I was sick because my whole family and my whole life was survived on building that business.
Yeah.
Our paycheck, our livelihood was there.
Yes.
So when you're sick, you didn't stay home. You went to the office. That was home.
Yes.
It was where the bookkeeper was. And so when I remember the good days, it was like, oh, let's go to Fancy Fred's, or let's go and get a strawberry shortcake from Woolworths, or go get a malt shake. These are the things that Sudbury was thriving for.
Damn, you're old.
I am. I am. And there was so much more community, and it's too bad that we didn't have cafes and patios at the time when malls came in, because that would have saved it. Because if we had a gathering place.
But that's the whole thing. There are, but it's just different. So, shout out to all the seniors who hang out outside in the food courts at all of the malls.
Yes.
But that's what ends up being, is that they want that socialization,
Yes.
that community thing that they can't get somewhere
Yes.
else. So they do go inside to
Yes.
malls, to go there
So
to
it's
meet
fun.
friends, to go and have coffee.
Now-
So everyone still needs it.
Yes.
They're just going to a different venue.
Yes.
And because the malls are going to be opening, closing, the food courts are not open anyways.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that those same people start maybe looking at their own communities a little differently and start inviting their friends to meet them for coffee somewhere else than they normally would.
I guess my big point was the people that are against having more space on the sidewalk are the people that thrived, and the reason they're still here 15 years later,
Thank
20
you.
years later, because of the same situation of the roads being shut down and the big sidewalk sales that lasted a week in Sudbury down here. So I mean, that was the key point that I was trying to make, and it just drives me crazy because I can name 5, and I mean in shouting distance, and it's irrelevant. But the fact is if they're the ones that are blocking it, think back to the late 80s, mid to late 80s, when this downtown was thriving.
Yep.
Like it's like walking through the mall was walking down Durham.
Yeah. Well, this is a mall. Just an
It
outdoor
is a
mall.
mall. It's an outdoor mall.
And that's what they keep building
Yeah.
all over the place, like Los Angeles.
Yes. Florida,
Right?
and the
All,
outlet
yes,
malls,
they're all
LA.
malls, outdoor
Yeah.
malls.
Yes.
So I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate just for a second. But I already know here she goes. Oh, here she comes. But I'm also you're gonna get a shout out in this, so you will appreciate it. So maybe not. I don't know. But the reality is, so Northern Ontario, Sudbury of course, but Northern Ontario in general, we are a geographic area with extremes in climate. So we go, and I was actually talking to someone from like Kentucky about it, and they were like, really, that happens? And I'm like, oh yeah. We go to like 30 plus with humidity of almost 40 in the winter Celsius. That's like 100 plus Fahrenheit. And then in the winter, that was summer. So in the winter we go minus 40, which is like minus, I want to say minus 30s Fahrenheit. Like it's really, really hot and uncomfortable, and really, really cold and uncomfortable. And that I think is why malls thrive in this environment compared to, I don't want to say more temperate, because LA gets super hot for sure, but they're super hot like kind of June, like our summer, they're ridiculously gross hot, but the rest of the year they're more tolerable. And when I think about Brisbane, when you think about Europe, they're more temperate. That said, there are things that can be done. There are things like patio heaters, and that's what I'm going to say. You're looking at putting in a mister.
And I'm allowed to put patio heaters out here, and I have two at
patio
home.
heaters when it gets cold, misters and fans when it gets hot. So if businesses put a little bit of creativity and effort into it, they can. So I mean, it's I don't want to say it's easy to say because that's not fair, but it's easy to say, well, the mall has killed it, and you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. But if businesses get creative about making the spaces more comfortable for people, then that won't be an issue. I mean, we have an establishment down Elgin Street, Buddha.
Yep.
Their patio is full all the time. But they've got greenery, they've got tons of shade, they have fans, like they have things that they put together. And I know that Steph is putting those measures in place here as well to make sure that people are cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. And I think that if storefront, quite frankly, storefronts have a huge advantage right now because they are opening before malls are opening. Take advantage of that benefit and put things there to make people comfortable. It's not a stick a table in the sun and hope they'll come. It's create a space that's comfortable that will compete with those temperature controlled, comfortable spaces for what it's worth. So yeah, I was like, I'm going to argue a little bit, but
No,
give
I
credit to
understand.
everyone.
That wasn't arguing.
right?
Yeah. No, and I wasn't arguing about it. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that I don't go into malls. I haven't been
I don't
there in
either.
years.
But that's because we also love the community and the atmosphere that we get from smaller.
Yeah, and
places.
I never found that same, like the whole idea of people hanging out in the mall is
Yeah, I'm
not my
with
idea of a thing. And I'm also not a shopper.
Yeah.
So that's another part of it probably. The whole idea of just browsing around in stores. I don't mind doing it in other communities where there's like little gift shops and there's historical type places.
I was gonna say
and-
I'm a browser, but I'd love doing a one sky, the gift shop down here, like the
Yeah.
interesting, unique places, as opposed to going to the mall to go to the same place all the time.
Well, same thing. When I travel, I go to another city or another country. You're not going to see me race into an H&M.
No.
Where I can get one at home.
No.
And you don't
Yeah.
see me racing into. I almost said Reitman's, which I think I'm pretty much done now, right? But you know what I mean. Like there's so many of those same stores all over the world.
Chains.
So then why would I go into the same ones when I can go home? So that's the only time I ever do that is that I need a T-shirt or I need a cheap tank top to get me
Last
through for a
minute.
couple of days, and as opposed to me going to 8 stores, I know that this one store probably has them. That's the only time I ever go in. But it's a different environment, and I think that everybody, I think if everyone has patience, and I talk about accommodation. Norm and I were talking about travel stuff, and it's not going to happen for the next. He kept saying, well, maybe the end of August. I don't even know about that. I was explaining to Stacy a while back about how I was having issues with, getting even credits processed in time from airlines from previous things. And now that because we here in Northern Ontario opened before Southern Ontario, of course, like magic, all the Southern Ontario people are coming in. So they're all staying in my suites. It's like a little revolving door now. They're coming up here because they can go out with their friends and do whatever, where they can't do that necessarily as well down south. So I'm going through different precautions down there because I'm starting to go back in it again. But luckily, surfaces aren't an issue, and I have to say that one of the biggest thing that's going to be, I can see things like Airbnbs and these, even if hotels operate more on a self-check-in type thing, I think they'll do better because I don't have to see my guests. And if my guests don't have to come in contact with other guests, that creates this perfect scenario for them to stay safe. So I email all of their check-in instructions to them. They come in, unless they didn't read the emails that I sent them. They come in, they basically pick up and they go in. I program, it's a keypad, logged in, everything's been sanitized and disinfected in there. I wash like duvet covers, throw blankets, like everything gets washed in between. It takes a long time in between everything, so I have to also admit, I'm going to be looking differently going to hotels now, because when a maid's coming in to clean your room in the middle of the day, it used to be a very short turnaround time, right?
Yep, it
It would
is.
take and change the amount of extra time that they're going to have to take now, because I know that I flipped one room last week, and it took me an hour and a half, and that was just taking already clean bedding that I had, just stripping beds, putting new sheets on. That's not even washing those sheets. That's it, just changing the towels quickly, emptying the garbages, and then doing everything. But it still took me an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And that was me racing. So I'm just thinking that I remember going to resorts and all-inclusives, right? And you're sitting outside in your bathing suit and you're annoyed that, oh my God, I can't get in yet. Or they're still in here. You know how long it's going to take now? So all those hotels are going to either have to have additional staff or you're going to have to wait longer for it.
So, and of course, I'm going to be the devil's advocate and worry that are they going to put the proper, they're supposed to have the proper sanitation procedures in place. Are they?
Do you mean on resorts?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're talking
Resorts
about
and
paranoia.
hotels and
I'll tell
all
you
that.
something. I've never thought they ever did.
Yeah, well, that's
And
my
I'm-
thing.
and I
That's
mean,
my point.
Well,
Is that
and the whole
I'm
point
already
is
worried.
that I'm the person that brings Lysol wipes before I
Yeah.
sit down on an airplane seat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wipe the handle, wipe the buckle, wipe the front. Nothing gets, and I hold up lines, and I don't care because I paid my money and I'm sitting down.
Yep.
And this is
I want it to
pre-COVID.
be
This
safe.
history was
Yeah.
the last 5-6 years of what I do. People make fun of me. I'm like, I don't care. I'm never sick when I'm on a trip, and
Yeah.
I walk into a hotel room, even if I'm doing an overnight in Toronto. I have my, and some people think it's nuts. I used to be a pharmaceutical rep, took infectious diseases. Ever since then, I hardly grab a handle without either, without my
Yeah, you
paper
extra
towel or
germaphobe.
my. Yeah, I do, and you know what? I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I really am because I know it's not OCD-ish, but the fact is it's precaution, I think. And now, I mean, we've chatted about this before. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I wipe every touch point
Yeah.
in every room that I stay in because I don't trust. From even when they come in to clean, I don't know what they've been bringing in. Their exposure
Well,
is
we've
not
seen,
just on
we've
the
all
resort.
seen the
it's all
YouTube
at their
videos
home.
and stuff, right?
Yep. Well, W5
Yeah.
and all the things, the toilet brushes being used on the sink counter, and
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
and, you know what I mean. And the worst thing is your controller for the TV, the
Yeah.
phone. It's like don't even like.
Since I started doing this show, I look at all of those things very differently.
Mm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I've gone even more to Airbnbs, and it's not. I'm not saying avoid hotels because that's a really controversial statement, but it's about be aware of an owner who is cleaning things every day and someone who's underpaid and probably has a lot of other stuff going on.
Probably just goes zooms through.
You know, and that's not a judgment on because there are a lot of really great people who do those jobs and do a fantastic job. But if I had to pick someone whose income depends on it and someone who's making minimum wage and barely scraping by, it's something to think about.
It is, and I mean,
I just.
yeah.
I just
Like I
think
said,
it's
it's not a
probably
nice thing, but-
it's I think it more of a realistic thing. It doesn't matter to me who's done the job. I'm still gonna do it. It doesn't matter.
And
to
that's
me.
fine. And that's everyone
And-
has to take their own
yeah,
precautions. And I
yeah.
think that's going to be the big change for all the industries going forward. Is that you need to start taking care of yourself and taking responsibility for yourself, your own safety, your own health,
Yeah.
as opposed to automatically relying on everybody else to be doing it for you. Because as much as everyone, like businesses like hair salons, spas, and everything else have their own set of guidelines, and they have their own restrictions to follow, they can be putting signs up all they want. They can be telling you everything they want. You have to be able to have that level of trust. And if someone came in here and had their own wipes and started wiping stuff down, I'm not going to get insulted.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just like double duty what we're doing, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Makes you comfortable, and you're going to sit here longer. Go nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those are kind of things that I think it'll be interesting. That I would like to almost go back. This will be a fascinating thing to do. We can have it like as a little recap. So all of these episodes we've done over the years.
Yes.
I would like to actually look back on some of those episodes. Like, let's do a new packing list
Oh.
Yes.
for carry on,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then do a
Yes.
new, so all of these things that we were always recommending and
Yes.
talking about and
Yes.
having to do with etiquette and tips that we've learned.
Yes.
They're-
Absolutely.
Now,
Post-COVID.
post-COVID,
Oh.
the whole episodes are going
Yes.
to get to be redone all
So,
over again.
so post-COVID, I am going to share that maybe the 180 serving mac and cheese wasn't a bad investment
No, it's
after all.
always a bad.
That's horrible.
I was saying that to my hairdresser today because I was talking about our
Post-COVID, people let
podcast
it be
and stuff.
cooking now.
And I said, but it's real. When COVID first hit, Kraft Dinner
Yep.
in Canada had to actually retool their lines. You weren't seeing the spicy cheese ones as much anymore. You were just to get the basic Kraft Dinner to meet up with demand. They had to change their lines, and they were they added an extra shift, and we're 24/7 running
Toilet paper company.
to pump out all the mac and cheese. And here I was a year ago saying, what the actual fuck? Who buys this shit? But they were smart because they got mac and cheese for 20 years.
See, and now my beanbag chair that was full of wine makes so much sense for COVID.
That's what I said. So stay tuned for season 4, which is going to be
Which will be a recap of the last
of the last
three
3 seasons, but just post-COVID.
And you know, just a quick one. I was thinking when we were talking about like germs and stuff. Is that have you ever been in a ladies' washroom in a really nice restaurant, and you're going to the washroom and someone finishes and they don't wash their hands and they walk right out?
All the time.
And so that in itself, to me, says that's still going to happen.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And I mean, we all
Same
travel
people,
now with like
same-
sanitizer in
yeah,
our plates.
yeah,
Like in my car, I've got I don't have Lysol wipes because they're really hard to come by, but I at least have my diaper wipes, so at least I'm wiping things down. And
I've got a pump in the door.
I'm using the
of my
diaper
hand.
wipes to open and close things, and I'm using the sanitizer after to sanitize. And I said, like, this is where the new normal comes into play. Like, you know, where we all thought, like, when I had a baby, when my son was a baby, I had sanitizer on me 24/7. As we grew older and his immune system developed and we were less concerned, but now we're back to carrying it around with us again. So I think there are, like you say, there are going to be some situations where, not the buyer beware, but you need to take responsibility for your own health and your own choices as well too. And I think also that our hospitality friends who are in the industry, whether it's retail, hospitality, tourism, whatever it looks like, food service, be okay with someone coming in with their own wipes and don't get your nose at a joint, right?
And vice versa, like I was saying about the friendly people that I spoke with today, it's like, be patient. It's not pre-COVID anymore. It's
No,
not.
everything's
And
different.
Everything's
Just like
different.
your life is different, their jobs are different.
You can't expect the same type of services you expect before because they're working and they're still awkward. It's only been open a week and so everybody's still learning some of those awkward moments with visors on people. It's
Be
awkward.
patient.
People aren't comfortable. I mean, everything is just new. It's uncomfy. It's, self-confidences are being, affected. And it's like, you want that. You're demanding the same service, the same thing. It's not going to happen.
Well, I think it comes
not.
back to a message that we've come out of this show a lot. That's be kind.
Absolutely.
Be kind, be patient. We're all
Absolutely.
humans. Be kind and be patient. And I think
Absolutely.
that I'm not going to lie, and I was going to shout out my hairdresser, but I'm not going to now because I don't want to get her in trouble. But she opened, I was like, oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for getting me in as soon as you did. Because I just sent her an email saying, whenever you can fit me in. Mama needs new hair badly because the gray was really scary. But I said, I get that you've got like 150 clients who are messaging you right now. And she got me in within 4 days. And so I was sitting there today, we were talking, she says, honestly, Cynthia, she says, I triaged them. And I went, the people who are going to be kind and the people who don't give me a hard time are the ones that I called to get them in first. And like a little kindness really does go a long way and a little patience. And she said, this is helping her ease into things so that her more demanding ones are scheduled later when she's kind of worked out the kinks and what her processes are. And so, kindness gets you where it gets you somewhere. It certainly gets
Absolutely.
you, when someone has discretion, they're always going to go to the kind person.
Absolutely.
Yay for
Absolutely.
kindness.
Yay for kindness. Hashtag yay for kindness.
I don't think there's going to be anything else, but if you have suggestions or if you've heard of some really ingenious business pivots that are really looking towards the future, especially in hospitality and tourism, please let us know.
Yes.
So we'd like to give them a sort of shout out online because I think that once other businesses or other business people see what is possible or hear other examples of what is possible, it may make them look at their own businesses a little bit differently. And where they thought there was despair and things aren't going to get better, maybe it's just they just haven't thought about something in a different light and they just need some inspiration.
And another edit put me in earlier. That I was just thinking about that when you just said it, just triggered me on tourism and travel. I know we were talking earlier about the credits and stuff. Being a travel agent, on my other side of things, is that we want you to use your money that you booked that trip with. Because until you do, till you've flown out of Toronto, we don't get paid.
Yeah.
So when we have to give you a credit, our commission is still sitting in your credit until you actually leave Canada. So as much as you're angry at, people are angry, people are upset, frustrated, everything. Just like when you go to a restaurant and things aren't the same, we're as frustrated because, we think of thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of cruises and, commissions that are lost in a matter of 4 months. It's a whole year's salary.
Businesses,
a lot
right?
of
Like
times.
you, as much as you're frustrated too, you can only serve a fraction of the people that you can serve before.
Yeah.
You can only employ a fraction of the employees you can employ before.
Yeah.
So it's like whoever you are, you're not the only one suffering.
Right, exactly. And
People
I was
are
just trying
struggling
to,
all
I was
around.
just
You're
trying to
right.
say, so it's sort of like bringing it back to that kindness, we know you're inconvenienced, so am I.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and I may not be doing a serving job great because I have to wear gloves and I have to wear this big mask and I can't see out of my peripheral because it's in the way and I'm awkward. So my serving techniques is going to be, I have to coach myself into it, right?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, be kind to everybody, all different, tourism, hospitality, and all of it.
Yep. Every time you leave your house.
Every time you leave your house.
Okay, yeah, so we said that. We'll include the recipe for the
cocktail.
Spikito on the cocktail thing. If you happen to come here, link to the digital Main Street for if you're a small business owner and you're looking to get online, yay for you. And then any other links and stuff for some of those articles I was referencing that I read, I'll put the links on that as well. So that this way everyone has sort of a reference point, or if you're trying to think of how you're going to survive the next 6 months.
Absolutely. And until our next episode, don't forget to subscribe to all of our channels, like and share.
That was smooth.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
I've had a lot of time to practice on my own. I'm sure.
Thanks so much for watching this video. We love putting it together. It's so much fun. All of our favorite things, good food, good drinks, a lot of travel talk, and we put it all together in one fun show. So make sure you follow us here, click on the videos below, follow, subscribe, and find us on your favorite podcast player. We'll see you on our next trip.